What if everything you thought you knew about Prince Andrew's fall from grace was only half the story? We've all heard the headlines, the lawsuits, the public disgrace, but tonight, for the first time, we're hearing from the women who knew him before the scandals, women who are now breaking decades of silence to reveal a pattern of behavior so shocking, so arrogantly ignorant, that it redefines everything we thought we understood about the king's brother. This isn't just about one friendship with a convicted sex offender. This is about a lifetime of believing the rules simply do not apply. And if you're ready to hear the untold story, the real story, then you are in exactly the right place. Welcome to Royal Report 24/7. And if you want to make sure you never miss a single revelation from behind the palace walls, do us a huge favor. Subscribe to the channel and tap that like button right now. Your support tells YouTube you want more content like this, and sharing this video is the best way to spread the truth. Now, let's pull back the velvet curtain. These aren't anonymous sources. These are former girlfriends, socialites from his past, women who moved in his glittering world in the 80s and 90s. They agreed to speak on condition of anonymity, not for money or fame, but out of a sense of sheer disbelief. Disbelief, they say, at watching the man they once knew continue to cling to his royal privilege, seemingly incapable of understanding why the world has turned against him. Their accounts are startlingly consistent, painting a portrait of a man utterly insulated from reality by his birthright. One woman, who dated Andrew in the late 1980s, recounts a telling story from a weekend at Balmoral. She described a moment when a member of the household staff accidentally spilled a tray of drinks. While others rushed to help, she says Andrew merely sighed with irritation, not at the accident, but at the inconvenience. He reportedly turned to her and said, and this is a direct quote, she says she will never forget, "This is why we have them, to clean up the mess." It was a throwaway line, she insists, but it revealed a deeply ingrained worldview. That there are two classes of people, and he was born into the one that doesn't clean up its own spills. This, according to these women, was the core of his character, a breathtaking sense of entitlement, not as a fleeting mood, but as his fundamental operating system. Another former companion from his naval days recalls his reaction to being criticized in the press. Instead of introspection or concern, she says he was genuinely, bafflingly angry. Not at his own actions, but at the sheer audacity of the newspapers for reporting on him. He reportedly fumed. "Don't they know who I am?" This wasn't a joke. It was a genuine expression of his belief in a natural order where his position granted him immunity from judgment. This cultivated ignorance, this royal bubble, is what these women claim left him uniquely vulnerable to the influence of a man like Jeffrey Epstein. A man who understood that the quickest way to control a prince is to flatter his ego and exploit his belief that he is above the rules that govern ordinary men. But the most damning revelation from these conversations isn't about the past. It's about the present. They describe his current state at Royal Lodge not as one of penitent reflection, but of bewildered outrage. One source close to his inner circle claims Andrew genuinely refers to his situation as a witch hunt and believes to this day that his family, specifically King Charles, has a duty to protect him from what he calls this nonsense. He is said to be completely blind to the concept of collateral damage, to the stain his presence brings upon the monarchy. His brother is trying to save a 1,000-year-old institution from a modern-day crisis, and Andrew is reportedly furious that his brother won't risk it all to save him from the consequences of his own associations. This is the shocking ignorance that has palace aides despairing. It's not just the ignorance of the law, but a profound ignorance of duty. While William and Catherine are meticulously building a monarchy of relatable service, and Charles is battling cancer while steering the ship of state, Andrew is still in his mansion, reportedly complaining about the quality of the horticulture and the audacity of the press, seemingly unaware that the world has moved on without him. He is a ghost of the old regime, haunting the corridors of the new, and his refusal to fade quietly into the background is creating a constitutional nightmare for his brother the king. The final Heartbreaking layer to this entire saga is the role of Sarah Ferguson. These sources suggest that their codependent relationship, often played for laughs, is in fact a fortress of shared denial. They have, according to those who know them, constructed a parallel reality within the walls of Royal Lodge, a world where they're the wronged parties, the misunderstood romantics, the victims of a cruel and unforgiving establishment. They feed each other's narrative of persecution, insulating themselves from the very truth that could potentially set them free, the truth that they're the architects of their own downfall. So, where does this leave the king? With a brother who is not just a public relations disaster, but a man who, by these accounts, fundamentally does not understand why he is a problem. How do you negotiate with someone who doesn't acknowledge the battlefield? How do you reason with a man who still believes he is a prince in a world that only sees the scandal? This is the impossible situation Charles faces. The eviction from Royal Lodge isn't just about money or downsizing. It is a desperate attempt by the monarch to administer a reality check so seismic, so forceful, that even his brother cannot ignore it. It is the last resort of a king trying to save his brother from himself. The shocking behavior exposed here today isn't about a single crime or a single interview. It's about a lifetime of cultivated ignorance, a character forged in the belief that a royal title is a shield against accountability. And as long as Prince Andrew remains in his bubble, protected by his title and his fortune, the monarchy he was born into will continue to bleed public trust with every passing day he spends in denial. This story is far from over. The battle for Royal Lodge, the king's next move, Andrew's potential reaction. These are the fronts on which this royal war will be fought. And we will be here to report every single development. If you want to follow this unprecedented crisis within the House of Windsor, make sure you are part of our community. Subscribe to Royal Report 24/7. Like this video if you were shocked by these revelations, and share it with someone who needs to understand the real story behind the headlines. The truth is always more complex and more human than it first appears.